As we all know, history repeats itself, sometimes in a good way, mostly in a bad way. If there is one thing history can teach us, is that the global economy will collapse. You may think we ought to learn from our mistakes, especially when it comes to money, livelihood, work, or in short, the economy. Sadly, we have not, and there might be a small chance we experience what we did in the past decade. But before I continue, my name is Mr. Scape, and if you like videos like these, it would be greatly appreciated if you liked and subscribed. If you aren't familiar with what recession is, it's the significant decline in economic activity that lasts longer than a few months. It will get pretty ugly, trust me. It may lead to unemployment, business failure, or one can even lose their house. There are many causes of it, and there are some we cannot prevent from happening. Truth be told, we are already seeing its effect right now. High rentals for houses, food you can't afford, places you can't even begin to imagine visiting. All of them you can't seem to reach just because of this problem we're facing globally. By the beginning of the year, it was already predicted that the global economy would fall. It was perilously close to recession by January because of accelerated inflation, worsening financial conditions, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What we thought would have been solved by our so-called superheroes had been forgotten. It went on and on for months that the majority of us don't even seem to care anymore. We coped with what we had, and we've been doing that for months. It feels like the norm when in reality it shouldn't be. This all started a few years back. Remember that virus? The one that caused everyone to stay inside their homes for months? The COVID-19 pandemic was a nightmare no one ever wants to relive. According to the World Bank, it triggered the largest global economic crisis in more than a century. But that was just the beginning. The lockdowns, the travel bans, the social distancing, all of that had a huge impact on our economy. There were travel bans so people couldn't get home to their countries. Millions of people lost their jobs, and we couldn't even blame the huge companies because they were affected too. The world economy shrank by 7.6% in 2020, the worst contraction since the Great Depression. Poverty soared, and then came the debt crisis. You should know that years before the virus, there was already an impending doom on the economy. Before the pandemic, global debt to GDP ratios had risen for decades. The debt had tripled since the 1970s. Though they decreased more quickly, private debt had also increased. Did you know that China played a central role in increasing global debt? It's because their borrowing outpaced their economic growth. Apart from them, low-income developing countries also rose significantly in the last 2 decades, according to the International Monetary Fund. Were you aware that China was a major contributor to the rise in world debt? It's because their borrowing increased more quickly than their GDP. According to the International Monetary Fund, low-income emerging nations have increased dramatically during the past 20 years in addition to them. Also take note that inflation went through the roof. That didn't help with the public debt, which stayed high as ever. Legend has it that even our grandchildren will be paying the debts we've accumulated through our lifetime. Governments kept spending more money to stimulate growth and deal with rising food and energy costs even after they stopped the pandemic relief programs. Speaking of the global debt crisis, we're talking of a ticking time bomb here, so many countries can't find a way to repay the money they've borrowed. This will probably trigger a chain reaction of financial instability. Again, skyrocketing interest rates, plummeting currencies, and economic recessions, like we said. A crisis like this might have a significant impact on the general public, increasing unemployment and placing pressure on public services as governments try to balance their budgets. At times like these, you'll begin to realize how important financial management is. You should thank your math teachers for this. So, what are the warning signs of the impending global economic collapse? To prevent this dreadful scenario from happening, or at least trying to prevent it, we should familiarize ourselves with how it looks. Some of us have been too young to remember what happened in the past years, especially in 2008, so here's a better look at it. Number 1. Unemployment rates. It's not easy to lose your job, but what happens if you don't find another one for a long time? A high unemployment rate indicates that businesses are having difficulty surviving and that there is insufficient demand for goods and services in the economy. Prolonged high unemployment rates could have detrimental long-term implications on the world economy. These consist of reduced growth potential, decreasing productivity, rising poverty, rising inequality, and social unrest. It's really important for policymakers to address this first, because where would we be if we didn't earn money? Number 2. Inflation. You probably know what inflation is, but to make it clear, it's the general upward trend in pricing of goods and services over time. So, if your grandparents say an item costs a few cents during their time, they aren't lying. Inflation weakens the value of savings and lowers the purchasing power of money. Since prices rise, a given amount of money can only purchase a few goods and services compared to how it used to. Can it be controlled? Perhaps, but it will take a lot of work. There's even the possibility that experts might estimate the pace of future inflation incorrectly, which would add another layer of uncertainty to the economy. Number 3. Stock market fluctuations. An early indicator of global economic collapse is the stock market fluctuation. This means stock values, which indicate the worth of businesses, fluctuate quickly and erratically. Investors lose faith in stock markets and may decide to liquidate their holdings in order to minimize losses. It's something you've never seen before. Now, some might not find this amusing since they feel like it doesn't affect them. In reality, it's greatly affecting us all. If this worsens, it will surely impact commerce, production, consumption, and employment. These conditions have the potential to lead to a global economic collapse, which would result in severe declines in most countries' economic activity and growth, as well as widespread unemployment, poverty, and social unrest. We all know what's going on in the world right now. It's very saddening to keep updated with the global news as of this moment. The post-pandemic economy has not gone according to plan. There will be other factors at play as the markets and the economy grapple with geopolitical events, notably the war between Israel and Hamas, as well as domestic politics problems. Because of this, gasoline prices have gone up, but worse things can still take place and we might not see the light at the end of the tunnel. For starters, we could raise our awareness of global events and how they impact us. We should also make an effort to spend less on unnecessary purchases and preserve more money. We can look for different revenue streams or skill sets that will increase our employability. Also, remember that we have the power to choose proper leaders. In addition to that, there are a few things you should avoid doing once the inevitable happens, according to experts. Number 1. Assuming new debt. You may believe that taking out a loan for a college degree, a home renovation project, or a new car is acceptable. You believe you can save some money for the future while still being able to take the monthly payments. But what if everything goes wrong? You can end yourself with less money than you had before you lose your job or your business's revenue. You'll find it difficult to pay off your debt and your budget will be less flexible. For this reason, in a weak economy, you should exercise caution while taking on new debt. If your income declines, it could get worse for you financially. Pay with cash if you can, or put off major purchases until things improve. Becoming a cosigner. It is not a good idea to cosign a debt, particularly when things are terrible economically. You never know when your company might fail, or you or the individual you are assisting might lose their job. After that, you both have a massive debt that you are unable to repay. It's not the kind of headache you want. Number 3. Taking your job for granted. You know the saying that applies to jobs, you are replaceable. That remains true, particularly in the present. Even large corporations might experience financial hardship and look for ways to cut costs. This occasionally means firing certain employees. For instance, in 2022, thousands of employees have to be let go by some of the largest internet companies, such as Meta and Amazon. For both of them, it was the worst job loss ever. It's difficult to lose a job, especially when it's difficult to find another one. Number 4. Making risky investments. Don't bet your future during difficult times. It might be tempting to invest because most stories come out positive, but that's not always the case. Making these choices can really be a life or death situation for some people. It might be best to invest when everything seems better. Your situation will most likely improve. You also shouldn't borrow money to invest because you think it's going to get bigger instantly. If you are unable to pay loans on time, that's a bigger problem for you. Be wise and patient. Are there any ways to actually solve this? Well, on a personal level, no. we must work hand in hand to stop it. Like we said, we must work together. So after reading all of that, we know that the world is facing a serious problem of inevitable threat of a global economic collapse. This is the effect of multiple factors like the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, wars, and the ever so rising inequality in the world. In order for us to put a stop to it, the global financial systems should always emphasize transparency and accountability. Even if it's difficult, even if the words might get harsh, international organizations should address global challenges we face today. They should not make it sound better and just let us understand it as it is. We already know that hard choices will be made since the situation is already so drastic. We're hoping that things won't go south from here, especially since we can't afford to ignore these problems. They will just get passed on from generation to generation. We need to work together to find answers that are fair, sustainable, and inclusive to each one of us. It really won't be easy, but it's definitely worth the effort. It's our future after all, right? Let's take action before it's too late. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.